It's my website. I got myself, I got suckered into managing a website for this one group 16, 17 years ago. The next thing I knew, I was on a board of directors and fighting with everybody, so I quit. But I'm still stuck with the website. Okay. Um, Anyhow, if you go to my website, it's at aztcs.apcug.org. I have that at the start of my presentation files. Okay. So it's available for you to download if you want to get to any of my slides. Okay. Now, most of you will not be interested in my 600 slides about free software. First of all, while while I was listening to all your good advice, I got into Microsoft Copilot and looked up how to print an envelope in LibreOffice and found these two links. And I used some simple HTML code and stuck it at the top of my meeting notes page. So the gentleman that needs that information can go here. And this stuff has been approved by Microsoft Copilot, which usually gives me misinformation when I ask a question. But for the first time in a couple of weeks, it gives me the correct information. Okay? So you can go there and get the answers. The gentleman that wanted to know how to use LibreOffice to print an envelope. Okay? If you want to print a lot of envelopes, then I think you have to do it from inside the spreadsheet equivalent of LibreOffice. But this is for printing a single envelope. So I don't know how many he needs to do. I, my wife does about 40 every Christmas, and most of them are her relatives. She comes from a very large family. Okay. Now, what else I want to tell you? Okay, before let's just jump to this other thing real quick right here. And I'm going to make it big. Okay, this is the start of my presentation, my main presentation. Okay, and I write this presentation in various ways. First, I write it so I can give it in like I told Bill Crow. I I write it so that I can give it in the first 10 minutes. Then I write other presentations to explain the details that I've given in the first 10 minutes, if anybody's still awake. Okay? If nobody's awake, then I give up and go have dinner. So anyhow, there's my email. I'd love to talk to you about any of this. Okay, I miss the interactions with people. I used to teach school at a community college, and now I just interact with a camera and a microphone and a headset. So it's a little different, okay? Um, Now, and my website's here, aztcs.apcug.org, and click on meeting notes. Okay, if you go there, all of today's 600 slides are there. Okay, I'm not sure you need all 600. If you're new to computers, given you probably more detail than you're going to ever want. But if you like to see a lot of details on how things are done, this is the website for you. Okay. Um, in a to put it in a nutshell, there are two pieces of software that I really, really like. One is called FreeOffice by SoftMaker of Germany, and one is called LibreOffice by volunteers all over the world. Those are the two I really, really like. And when I give this presentation, if they give me more than 2 hours, I spend the first hour saying bad things about the ones I don't like. But I don't think I have enough time today. Okay. Um, Let's see. Abundance of office suites. All right. There's lots of them out there, okay? If you go here to this Wikipedia page here, so I can get into it, there's about 50 here, okay? Office suites. The thing about Wikipedia is I often disagree with them. That's okay. What happened here is they don't have my favorite one called SoftMaker FreeOffice. They only have one called SoftMaker Office. That's the one that they charge you for, between $30 and $130 per copy. Okay? They somehow have bribed the people at Wikipedia not to put their free one on this list. But the free one is plenty fine for 99% of the people out there. Okay? If you do a lot of weird equations or you do a lot of weird formatting, go for SoftMaker Office. It's excellent. Okay? But if you don't need anything, ignore this recommendation that you go to SoftMaker Office and go to SoftMaker FreeOffice. Okay, those are both products that they make, and if they make a product called SoftMaker Office, and it's a year or two old, they change it to FreeOffice. Big deal, right? So keep that in mind. And I've used about half of these here, okay? Well, for one reason or another over the years. I'll tell you more about that, why I had to during this presentation, okay? Now, what else I tell you about? So I have a bone to pick with these people. They don't put the best one out there, but that's all right, okay? They're doing a great job of being as honest as possible, okay? Um, okay, I don't know if you can see all this. Can you see my entire slide? Let's see, hide video panel, hide deploy media controls. Okay, let's start off with Microsoft Office Suite. If you have a file extension called DOCX for the later model versions of Microsoft Office after 2007, it'll default for the Microsoft Word for complex text documents to DOCX. Okay. If you have the later version of Excel, it'll default to XLSX. If you have a later version of PowerPoint, it'll default to .pptx. And finally, if you have a Microsoft Access database, it'll default now to acct.db. Okay, so keep that in mind. And if there is enough time, I'm going to show you how to turn on file extensions. Most of you know how to do that. Back in the good old days, when Microsoft first came out with Windows, I think 790, Windows 7, they decided to block um, all file extensions. And, and Apple did the same thing. Well, that keeps you real dumb because you can't tell what the name of the file really is. So I encourage you to follow my instructions on my website and turn on file extensions. Then you'll know what the format of your file is without having to right click on it. Okay? So keep that in mind. And Apache OpenOffice, they're, they fell behind. Nobody wanted to volunteer to work on it. Everybody went and forked over to LibreOffice. So Apache OpenOffice is now in Amber status over at the Apache Foundation. Amber status. That means they're not really spending a lot of effort on it. And when someone discovers some kind of a security lapse in it, they'll get around to it in 2 or 3 years. Well, that's not safe enough for you. Okay. So the two that I recommend are SoftMaker FreeOffice and LibreOffice. Those are the good ones. What else did I tell you about? Okay. Um, okay, base. Let's forget that. TextMaker is analogous to Microsoft Word in SoftMaker FreeOffice. PlanMaker is analogous to Microsoft Excel, and Presentations is analogous to PowerPoint. Okay, analogous means kind of similar to, similar enough for most people, and not similar enough if you have somebody you're working with who's picky about how everything looks. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay. Um, okay. In LibreOffice, it's called LibreOffice Writer, LibreOffice Calc, LibreOffice Impress, and LibreOffice Draw. LibreOffice Draw can open Microsoft Visio files, but when you edit them, it usually changes it over to some other format. Okay. Microsoft FreeOffice is by far the easiest. SoftMaker FreeOffice is by far the easiest for you to use and the most compatible with Microsoft Office. And I'll show you that in a minute. All right. Now, LibreOffice is bundled with all of the more popular distributions of Linux. So you're going to see it if you install Linux, any of the top 20 most popular versions of LibreOffice, with one exception, of Linux, with one exception. If you download Garuda, one of the Indian versions of Linux, they'll give you a choice during the installation between LibreOffice and free OpenOffice. Now, I'm telling you, a lot of people around the world still love OpenOffice, but it is not as safe anymore because of the lack of uh, developer support and the lack of money being spent on it by the Apache Foundation. Okay. Um, So what else can I tell you about? Okay, now I think I want to start off by just showing you two very common files that I've worked with over the years. It's my main list. It's about 70 seven pages or so. Okay, let's hide plugging into. Okay, now let's get out of there. I keep hitting the wrong one, don't I? See the problem? It interferes with PowerPoint. Not much I can do about that, is there? Okay, let me minimize that for a second and move on, okay? Because this, I'm kind of done with this part of the presentation. I've given you the 14-minute version, right? So we will now go close the window. Okay, very good. And I'll close this window. And I'll leave this up for the gentleman who needs it on my website. And if he needs to get here, let me know and I'll send these links to him anyway, okay, on how to print an envelope.
I did put it in the chat box.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Very helpful. Folks are helpful here. Okay, now let me go here. Um, Let me just show you this. I'll come back to this later. Okay, I've got two side by side, two computers open. They're virtual machines. So on the left is Microsoft Office, and I'm going to open up this file that I use for testing. And you're welcome to all my testing files. That's on my website also. You go to Sample Office, and you double click on the darn thing, and hopefully it opens up, right? And you open up my favorite document, which is a list of all my 80 presentations. Okay. Now I'm going to squeeze this down a little bit and show it to you and show you where things are slightly different. And then I'll explain to you that depending on whether or not you're collaborating with somebody else, you could care less if there's slight differences between the two. What's going on here? Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to open up on the right side the other, the FreeOffice, right? I'm going to open up the same document. This is another computer inside my computer. That's what virtual machines are good at. See, I can just drag it over a little bit. There. Then I'm going to find the same file. It's a separate computer, so there's no interactions between them. And I'm going to double click on this and hope it opens up in TextMaker. Ah, excellent. Very good. Okay, now over here, I've told it not to display any details about the ribbon, okay? I can do the same thing over in FreeOffice if I go to, I gotta do File, Properties, I think it is, and I can go to View, and is it View? Review, Statistics, Protection Form, Review. Where do they put the darn thing? Let me think. Let's see if it's over TextMaker. Window? No, that's not it. Tools, there it is. Tools and Options and Appearance. And I can turn off, I can go, they give you a choice in FreeOffice between the ribbon format and the classic menus format. If you're in the class, it defaults to the classic menus, okay? If you're in the classic menus format, that's fine. If you love the ribbon from Microsoft Office, you can click it on here or here, get a red toolbar at top or the regular one, and you'll get the nice ribbon that some of you are familiar with. Okay. Now, if you then go to Appearance and oops, that's not it. You can turn off those toolbars also to make life easier for you. Okay. Um, user interface. User interface size, something about toolbars, darn it. At least I can remember. General, BIOS, appearance, view, document window, horizontal ruler, vertical ruler, show scroll bars, appearance, I think it's over. Where the hell did I put it? Smooth edges. Associate by type. Check now. Files. Appearance. I still think it's an appearance. User interface size. I can't remember how to get rid of it. Sorry about that. Having a senior moment here. It's in there, okay? Now, this is a 58 page document, right? It's 58 pages over here also. So what's the difference? That's one reason I like FreeOffice because it's darn close to what everyone else is going to see, the hordes of people that have Microsoft Office. I go to the very end, Control N, where did I go? I think I'm on the wrong machine. Control N. Okay, there. Let's look at the very last page. My point is, when you go to a free alternative, your your line and page spacing changes a little bit. Now let's see what happens on this one. Control End, right? What happened? Control End. Command End? I don't know. Huh. The light comes Control End. Let's go Command End. I think I'm at the end. Page down did it. Okay. Uh, okay, now if you go on this one, this is the last page. It's same number of pages, right? No. Or it isn't anymore, is it? How many pages is it? It is. I don't need that to show you that. The difference is in the page and line spacing. How many do I have? I've got page 58. This is page 58, right? 58 pages. By the time you get down to 58 page, the spacing is slightly different, okay? That's the only difference. That's why I like it. If you're working with somebody who's real picky, like my wife, and you show them a page that's slightly different, they might go berserk on you. Okay, that's my wife anyhow. Um, but it's pretty darn close, right? Real close. And you'll notice the fonts don't look exactly the same, slightly different in spacing and much other things. Okay, this is all default. Okay, now I'm going to take LibreOffice. I'm going to close this one off for now, and I don't think I can. I can probably turn it file and tell it to what can I do with it? I can go here and go here and go high controls. I can probably go VM, virtual machine, and power and suspend. I'm going to try to suspend it, okay? Then I'm going to open up the one that has LibreOffice in it. And I'm going to show you a big difference. I hope it doesn't take forever. All right. About two virtual machines is as many as I dare run in 64 gigs of RAM. And next, I was trying to buy 128, but I didn't have the 2 months to wait for the darn computer to arrive. As soon as it shuts down, I'm going to go and open up LibreOffice and show you how it works. Okay, good. Now I'm going to minimize it, close it. I'm going to go right click, open a virtual machine. Hope hope it starts. Then I'm going to go free office. I don't want that. I'm going to go virtual machine. I don't want to power this up, so I'm going to tell it. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Open. Then I'll go to LibreOffice, running on a virtual machine. Um, it's in here somewhere, I promise. There it is. I'll start it up and power it on and close this tab. I'll show you the same exact file in LibreOffice. And I can show you the same similar inconsistencies between the various free ones and Microsoft Office. Okay, it isn't doing too bad for 64 gigs of RAM. Let's see if I can get it to open. Okay, now I'm going to open this up in LibreOffice. And since LibreOffice is the only thing open, I don't have to worry about what to open it with. I'll just open it up and double click on the same file. LibreOffice opens up in very nicely, and I have it configured just right. Okay, now, if I go to the end, I think I have to go control page down, but I could be wrong. Nope, it's a lot farther than that. Control end. There. Okay, LibreOffice now has slightly different spacing for the exact same file. How many pages does it have? Look down here. 55 pages. So it doesn't space the pages and doesn't space the text and the paragraphs the same. Okay? So what's that going to do to you if you're collaborating with somebody? Well, in the cruel world of people like me who are just text, who work on things, I would get fired. Okay? People would say I don't know what I'm doing. I'm used to that. I've been fired a lot of times. Okay? But in the real world, if you're dealing with somebody who's picky, who's a little nervous, um, they're going to go berserk when you don't have the same number of pages, or when you edit them and send it back to them, it'll be different looking, and it'll have a third change to the number of pages. So my problem is, if you're collaborating with somebody, use what the heck they're using. You'll have a lot better luck with it. So if I find out you're using LibreOffice, uh, I'll be real happy. I'll find out which version of you're using, but it doesn't really matter. And I'll just use the same as yours, and we'll both get along fine, and you won't want to fire me. See how that works? um, let's see, what else was it that I want to tell you about? Um, let's go back to my presentations and whoops, I see his face a lot on things. A, C, G, let's go there. What am I I'm running in Microsoft Edge. All right, which is fine with me. I don't care about the browsers. It's not my big deal in life. Now, so there are my sample files for testing, okay? Oftentimes if you don't have a big enough file, you won't see the difference. 1 or 2 pages, right? Let me show you what happens when you on LibreOffice when you go to, and the same thing happens in FreeOffice when you open up a PowerPoint. This is a PowerPoint I got from Judy Taylor, and we worked on it for months, years. And I go here in LibreOffice. I go to sample files, and I open up moderator slides. Okay, you've seen this before on Saturdays. Now, let me show you what happens. Let me just show you the full size rendering of the file. I can't remember where that is shown. It is view, I think view present or some slideshow. There it is. It's slightly different than I'm used to. Start from the first slide. Ah, now just between you and me, if I open it up in anything but Microsoft Office, it's going to push it to the top. Why? Because she inserted in the white space, blank space below the first slide, a music file. Okay, and that in LibreOffice pushes everything up. In FreeOffice and every other one, I mean in FreeOffice and LibreOffice, it pushes all the slides up. In OpenOffice, it does the same thing. In Microsoft PowerPoint, it doesn't push it up. So things like that can drive people nuts when they're collaborating and under pressure. Okay. So, and as you go down through it, you'll find out a lot of things don't look quite right. That APCA logo is too high. You probably don't have to deal with people that are real picky about how it looks, but a lot of people are. And so if they are, you're going to want to use what they're using, okay? Because you'll get along better. I promise you. Okay? What else did I tell you about? Let me go back to here. Okay, I don't know how much time you want me to spend today. Let's go. Okay, if
You- You've
you
got about
want,
15 minutes or more.
that's fine. I don't know if you want the details, but I took step by step installing FreeOffice here as a PowerPoint, PPTX format, or a PDF. I don't recommend using PDFs for viewing PowerPoint slides because you have to keep scrolling down and it never pages down correctly. Okay. So if you can get anything that can read PowerPoint formatted files, even if they're a little off, you'll have better luck with viewing it, like FreeOffice or OpenOffice or LibreOffice. Okay. Um, now, I'm not going to go through some of this. WPS Office has a lot of security issues in it. And I go through all of them and I say bad things about it, and I can easily be another half hour. So let's not go through it unless you want to read it, okay? And now the other thing I wanted to mention because I probably don't won't have time to go through it is if you're removing any kind of complex software in your computer, I recommend using Revo Uninstaller Portable. Now, I have used uninstallers, about a dozen different ones, depending on who I was working with and what they had, okay? When you work for somebody, they tell you what to do. And I can tell you that I had some very bad experiences using Glary Utilities, Uninstaller, and a bunch of other things. I've had no problem at all with this Bulgarian piece of software, and I do trust Bulgaria. I don't trust Russia or China, and they write a very great piece of software. And if you follow my instructions, they will clean up your registry, get rid of all the junk in there, and leave you with all of a soft piece of software that you'd want to get rid of, except for perhaps one or two small things that they miss, unless you buy the professional version. But I still recommend using Revo Uninstaller. Okay. Now, last but not least, here, I thought I had it in here, Donna. Okay, tethering a cell phone. Okay, somewhere in there, I've got some stuff to tell you, and it probably isn't that important to most people. How to turn on file extensions, okay? And my instructions are somewhere in here. I don't remember where I put them. Email me if you want the instructions. If you go to the control panel and you go to File Explorer Options, right? And you go to View, where it says hide extensions for known file types, remove the check mark there. Okay. That's a little doohickey that Microsoft and Apple both added to their operating systems somewhere around Windows Vista. And ever since then, we give a new computer to somebody, they don't see the full name of the file. And when that happens, it gets them totally confused because they'll tell you about the file and they won't tell you about what format it's in, and you'll have to figure out what the heck they're doing. So most of you already figured that out. If you have a new computer user, fix the problem for them. That's the first thing I did for somebody when I was teaching us classes and people brought me their computers is turn off high file extensions. Okay. Um, what else I tell you about? I know I've got 15 more minutes. That's a good thing, you know that. Um, Let me show you one more thing. Okay. If you're in LibreOffice, which is this guy right here, right? And I don't really care what you're doing in LibreOffice. If you go to Tools and you go to um, Options, I think it is. No, that's not right. um, if you're in LibreOffice, I think I'm still in the ribbon version. No, I'm not. So I should be able to go look at. tools, slide. Let's get out of this one for a second and go back to LibreOffice text maker. Let's go to this guy. I hope it starts up some year. No, now LibreOffice doesn't give you a ribbon alternative, okay? It gives you something they've invented. And if you go to here, where it says view, is it view? The other thing you're going to find out about LibreOffice is when you click on something, you get nothing. You got to drag your mouse down to make it come happen. It's just something they wrote into it. It reduces the amount of problems your cat can cause when they step across your keys. Okay. Um, if you go to View and go down a little bit, and you go to Toolbars. See this where it says Toolbars? And then you go to the right a little bit, like so. Drag it to the right a little bit. You notice that you get View, and you go to Toolbars, and you drag to the right a little bit. This time it remembers it. If you can get rid of almost every single toolbar, and there will be one called formatting, and one will be called standard. Where do you think they got those names from? Well, for those of us old timers, they stole it from Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft started way back with Windows, Microsoft Office with two toolbars, standard and formatting, and they called that the standard interface before they added in the ribbon that 90% of people hate. So if you want to get rid of, like I've done here, you want to get rid of the toolbars, you just go to Tools, go down a little bit, and is it there? Toolbars, I think. You can get rid of that. And what else can you do? Toolbars. Where do they put toolbars? Um, View. It's under View. And you go to toolbars. You can get rid of all the stuff that bothers you. Okay. I like a simple interface without all the junk, unless I'm doing something real fancy, which happens about half the time when I'm working on something. I got to change a font. I got to do this. I got to do that. And when that happens, I need back all the fancy toolbars. Most of the time, I like them turned off. And I do the same thing like over here in Microsoft Office. You notice I clicked up here and I turned off um, all the toolbars so that I don't get to see all the details of the two ribbons that they run across your screen. And that's the way I like to work in things, simplified. Okay. So what else can I tell you about? Well, this has been a good point for me to see if anybody has any comments, questions, or disagreements with me. So let me just shut off my screen sharing and let somebody start yelling. What usually happens around this point in the presentation is they, I don't know, share. I was supposed to stop screen sharing, wasn't I? Darn it. I wasn't. Does it look like, do you guys see the regular screen or did I?
So so why are you showing the LibreOffice? You say that one's not good.
Oh, it's
You said free offices, and you're not showing what that one does.
okay. Here's the problem. FreeOffice comes from one company. LibreOffice has people working on it all over the world, and it's got a lot of bells and whistles in it that surpass FreeOffice. Okay, you've got thousands of people working on it, and if you run to another country, you're going to find LibreOffice, unless you're in India, and a lot of those people who are real hung up on OpenOffice don't want to change. But most of the world is using LibreOffice.
Hmm.
And so if you join a bunch of uh, Linux group users, all they ever talk about is LibreOffice. They don't care about how screwed up they open up a file that someone creates in Microsoft Office looks like. So their standard is whatever LibreOffice creates. And if you start a file in LibreOffice and you go File Save, it'll make an open source format. The whole world's going to go there. And the whole world isn't going to go to DOCX or PPTX or XLSX. That eventually, I think, is going to go away because it's too proprietary, and Microsoft holds a lot of the rules about uh, the code you can use in it, much other problems. So Microsoft firmly has their grip on it. So I don't think it's going to go. It's going to survive in the long run.
You
So
say Microsoft is going to go away?
not anytime soon, but you can see that some people know how to beat 'em up. Like Google created Android, and that took over cell phones, right, for most of the world, about 60% of the world. And ever since then, and you can read the articles written in the most recent news uh, cast of Bill Gates crying about how he could have made another $1 trillion if Windows Phone had taken off after they bought Nokia. He cries about it almost every few days. See? But but the fact that a Google could come and beat him out and Nokia lost him money is a good sign that other things can happen and you don't have to depend on Microsoft for every little thing in the world. You see what I'm saying? Um, so at any rate, in the long run, as you talk to people, they're going to talk about LibreOffice because that's where the thousands of developers are putting their effort. And that's where a lot of the fancy formulas that go into their version of spreadsheets are going to go. A lot of the spreadsheet formulas that Microsoft uses in Excel are like standards in the companies that I've been working with. But if you move away from them, you'll find very, very good formulas and very fancy capabilities in LibreOffice's spreadsheet version. So you see what I'm saying? So anyhow, that's my
But over
opinion.
here in the US, it's Microsoft, and you're saying FreeOffice is compatible with Microsoft. So why wouldn't we want to switch to FreeOffice instead of this LibreOffice that's not compatible?
That's another thing I want to complain about. FreeOffice is an older version of SoftMaker Office, and I don't know if it'll be around forever, but that's the way they get you started, buy software from them. Okay? They have somehow bribed, and I don't know if I like to use that word or not, but it doesn't look like I'm being recorded. They somehow have gotten convinced Wikipedia not to mention it in their list of Office alternatives, Office software alternatives. How they did that, I don't know. I don't know the money that exchanges hands or who paid who or that kind of stuff. To me, the the common user doesn't need anything but free Office. I've used it for everything. Once you can start getting fancy, you'll have to use whatever the heck your employer tells you. And I've had to use just about everything possible over the years just to stay employed and then get retired. So it doesn't matter, okay? And also, if you're in the computers and working on networks and all this crazy stuff, you're going to find that all kinds of strange equipment and operating systems exist in companies that you work for, like I had to go and deal with. And if you want to work with them, you have to learn them pretty quick. See? But if the people at Microsoft think that they're going to run the world. That's the attitude, and they've done a lot of things to work with the NSA and the CIA to help keep track of where computers are located around the world and all these other great things. So they've done good for us. Okay, the world's full of our enemies. Okay, China, Russia, some places in Pakistan, some of the Arabic countries. They're our enemies. They're trying to spy on us. Microsoft has worked real hard to keep track of where some of their computers are by some tricky stuff I have another presentation about called using tracking the UUI. Microsoft can pinpoint it and tell you where the heck that stuff came from down to 10 feet in, in the universities over in China. So they've done a really, really good job of tracking things. Okay. At the same time, I don't know. I'm not sure if you listen to what the people in Russia are saying or other countries, they want to be using Microsoft operating systems when Linux will gradually run rings around them. So
Francis, so are you recommending if you want to use something other than Microsoft Office to use either LibreOffice or FreeOffice? Which one is preferred?
I absolutely prefer FreeOffice because if you start a file in LibreOffice, it it'll put it in some weird format, and you'll probably regret it if you send it to somebody else. It doesn't quite work as well. Um, LibreOffice, they're both useful. If a person's a new user, I generally put them on FreeOffice because it's closer to being friendly to the Microsoft world. Okay, if you double click on FreeOffice, it doesn't give you it automatically asks you are you going to want to run these formats, these Microsoft formats, automatically in the future. It asks you stuff. It tries to be very compatible with the Microsoft people. So I recommend that for new computer users. But in the
And
long run, sir,
where does the Google Docs fit into that, or Google Sheets fit into your thoughts on that?
okay, I use Google Docs and Sheets a lot. They store things in their own format up in the Google website. I'm a little nervous about anything that's that proprietary. Okay. When you ask them to download something, they automatically download it to a Microsoft format. But in the storage up in their website, they have their own format. They don't disclose it. And so the more proprietary things are, the more nervous I get about what they're really accomplishing, what they're trying to accomplish. See? So it's okay. It's a great piece of software. If all you have is a what do they call those little fast little computers now? Uh, netbooks they used to call them. When they have those little fast Google computers running a version of
Chromebook,
Chromebooks,
Oh,
Chrome. Yeah.
you're going to get whether you like it or not. I think you're going to end up with Chrome unless you insist on this installing something else. It's you're going to end up with Google Docs and its formats.
Okay, Drew has his hand up.
yep. I don't know how many people use cloud storage, but Microsoft recently changed their product offerings. And what they're doing is, I think it's done to promote Microsoft Word or Office 365, is they used to be able to purchase a variety of different sizes of storage, 100 gigs or 200 gigs. Now, I wanted to upgrade mine from 1 to 2, and I discovered that it's not available anymore. They only offer 100 gigs or 1 terabyte. And the 1 terabyte version comes with Office 365. So if you need more than 100 gigabytes of storage in the cloud, you're going to get Office.
Yeah,
Okay,
uh, that's a good reason, like Drew mentioned, not to get this vendor lock-in. That's one reason why Linux and Unix suddenly became so popular. Nobody wants to be locked into a vendor. Now, depends. If you walk into an Apple store, they love vendor lock-in. They tell you never to put in Microsoft Office, and they tell you all this other crazy stuff, right? So what happens? You make a file and you send it off to people, and nobody in the Office world or LibreOffice world can open it because they got these weird formats. Okay, and then then they tell that's their problem. Just tell them to buy a Mac. See, you see, it locks you into the hardware. They're using their software to lock into their hardware in the Apple world. But Drew is absolutely right. Microsoft plots to lock people into things, and it isn't in the long run. It isn't good for you or me to be locked into somebody's stuff because they're going to gradually lock you into more and more of their hardware, also like the way the Apple people do. So,
Howard, you have your hand up. You're muted.
Unmute yourself, Howard.
There I go. So these are all supposed to be equivalent to Office, but free because Office is so expensive. But I got an email yesterday from Earthlink, and one of their promotions, there's a company that provides Office a few years old for $20 or $22. Why not just get that and forget messing around with all this other stuff?
You can. Is an old office is going to time out on you. I've got a ton of Adobe software. Back when I joined this group in Arizona, and I don't live there anymore. I just maintain their crazy website. They they said we only like Adobe software. Well, during that time, Adobe sunsetted most of their software. And that they said, we don't want to talk to you. If you're a volunteer for us, you got to use Adobe this, Adobe that, Adobe this. They made me buy about $4,000 worth of Adobe software. Back then, that was a lot of software. Um, so if they give you an older version, they eventually assume you're going to get locked in and have to upgrade, and that makes them real happy. See, that's the reason why Bill Gates cries about the fact they didn't make any money on Microsoft Phone, Windows Phone, because he lost money on it. See,
Poor Bill.
so
Bill Crow has your hand up.
Francis, we have many different document preparation programs.
mhm.
And if you're going to email a program or a document to someone else, do you have a recommendation on what file format to use to make
Well, it
sure everybody
depends.
can do
It depends.
it?
If they love LibreOffice, like several other people that
I don't
volunteer.
know. Like I'm sending it to people of the club, so I don't know what they have.
Well, just
Is there a,
send it in the Microsoft format, and everybody can open it currently.
I usually try to send it in rich text format.
That's a good format.
Because if they don't even have Word, they can open it with notes.
Yeah, and then there's a funny thing I found recently where Word documents can be opened even by WordPad if you're persistent enough and some things like that. So you can if you're persistent, you're just gonna have trouble trying to edit the darn thing. And so I always like to send them something they can open and edit. It's less trouble than them calling me at 2 in the morning to scream that something doesn't work. But you're right.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I've kind of always just found what format somebody wants and send it to them. And when you're working with all these people, it stops some of the screaming. Not all of it though. But
I
most
have
people
my
don't.
hand. I have my hand up. And another thing that you didn't mention is the Microsoft Office online for free. So you can have Microsoft products for free using their online versions. So you just use your browser and you can sign in to Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on, which I've used and it works pretty well.
Yeah, that's great. That's real good. Um, though I use all those things. I just try to find out what someone else likes, and I go ahead and just give them what they like. And the online for free, I had a. I'm still a little nervous about online for free. I'm having my house remodeled, and I haven't had internet every other day. So sometimes that can be a real pain. But I do have more than one internet connection right now, so I can switch around. So it all depends.
And the whole idea that Adobe came up with Acrobat and in PDF files was so that if no matter what format you could open and use, they could read it. So if they don't need to edit anything, you can send it to them as a PDF, and everyone should be able to read it.
And
Correct.
all government documents and all legal forms are basically now in PDF, and most of them have little blanks you can fill in, which are okay to fill in. on most PDF readers. So yeah, that's turned out to be a real good thing. And the whole world's kind of, the PDF format, if my memory is correct, didn't start with Adobe. It started with the Microsoft, Apple, and Adobe kind of
No,
borrowed it.
no, I don't know about that, but I do know that uh, Adobe came to the Central Florida group and demonstrated Acrobat way back when, and the reader wasn't even free at that point. So it's developed over the years. But
Hmm.
the purpose of it was to be able to share documents that people couldn't edit. Now you can get programs that will edit PDFs as well.
Yeah, I was looking around yesterday at PDF editing programs. There's about 600 of them or something like that. And I have them were in languages that I can speak. So it's amazing how it's taken off when people share a format. And you don't, there are some things where they don't share formats. Microsoft has always been guilty of that. And when that happens, eventually it dies on the vine. But you're right. The PDF is a great format, and the government adopted it ages ago, and they're still using it, and I'm still opening them successfully, even older documents.
And if you're a Windows user, all you have to do is choose a printer and print to PDF, and it creates a PDF for you. So you don't even have to have a program to do that, just to create a PDF to send to somebody. And sometimes that's the best way to go. Uh, we need to wrap this up in a few minutes, or are there any other questions or comments? Anne, you want some final words and thank our speaker? Unmute.
Absolutely do want to thank our speaker. Thank you so much, Francis. I mean, that's very fascinating. I have to tell you, you were above my head, but that's okay. A lot of things are above my head. But I think we had some great questions and we got some things answered. And I appreciate the time that you took, and we hope to see you back again very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.